Welcome, friends. This is A Course in Miracles, Palm Beach Study Group. Today we're in Chapter 13, Section 3, The Fear of Redemption. In the book, it's on page 242. You may wonder why it is so crucial that you look upon your hatred and realize its full extent. You may also think that it would be easy enough for the Holy Spirit to show it to you and to dispel it without the need for you to rise it to awareness yourself. Yet there is one more obstacle you have interposed between yourself and the atonement. We have said that no one will countenance fear if he recognizes it. Yet in your disordered state of mind, you are not afraid of fear. You do not like it, but it is not your desire to attack that really frightens you. You are not seriously disturbed by your hostility. You keep it hidden because you are more afraid of what it covers. You could look even upon the ego's darkest cornerstone without fear if you did not believe that without the ego, you would find within yourself something you fear even more. You are not really afraid of crucifixion. Your real terror is of redemption. Wow. Okay, well, it says it's The Fear of Redemption is the title of the section. We're going to have to read on and see if we can get a better idea of what they're talking here. So paragraph 2, under the ego's dark foundation is the memory of God, and it is of this that you are really afraid. For this memory would instantly restore you to your proper place, and it is this place that you have sought to leave. Your fear of attack is nothing compared to your fear of love. You would be willing to look even upon your savage wish to kill God's Son if you did not believe that it saves you from love. For this wish caused the separation, and you have protected it because you do not want the separation healed. You realize that by removing the dark cloud that obscures it, your love for your Father would impel you to answer his call and leap into heaven. You believe that attack is salvation because it would prevent you from this. For still deeper than the ego's foundation, and much stronger than it will ever be, is your intense and burning love for God and his for you. This is what you really want to hide. Well, obviously, this is all going on subconsciously. I'd say obviously, maybe it's not obvious, but the sense that I'm getting here is that, we made a free will decision to think that we could separate ourselves from the Father, even though we couldn't, but we thought we could, and which caused the separation in our mind and caused the ego to be created. And then I guess that set up a guilt and fear, when we realized what we had done. And now that we're trapped in the ego, we have this subconscious fear and guilt that's keeping us trapped because we realize that, we made a big mistake.
Savage wish to kill God's son? No. How many people would that apply to? That doesn't.
Well, it applies to a lot of people. You'll see murderers, that's part of God's son. You see people, a lot of people, with hate also.
You would be willing to look even upon your savage wish to kill God's son?
Well,
it's like he's speaking to a large crowd of people or something, it's like.
Okay, let me say this. God's son is you. Your fear of attack is you would be willing to look even upon your savage will to kill yourself. God's son is the Christ, is the collective, all of us.
So it's more than just self.
Well, there's only one of us. That's why they're using that term, God's son. There's only one of us. We all are God's son.
Thank you.
So would you say that could, I want to say, fall in the category of depression?
Oh, yeah, I would think so.
In this society that's commonplace.
Yes. There's suicides every day. There's even mass suicides. Warfare. All kinds of murder and mayhem going on. People killing each other, killing themselves.
So then it goes, so you believe the attack is salvation because it would prevent you from this. And sometimes, I mean, I feel like I can understand some of this. In other words, sometimes I would rather shovel or push off what I am feeling towards other people because I'm in a bad mood or I'm angry or I'm feeling shameful. So I would rather say it's other people's fault and push them onto that rather than participate in attack rather than go within and ask for salvation.
Okay. But by doing that, you are attacking yourself and the other.
Yes. Yes.
And so again, that's just, ego behavior. It's a conundrum, it's convoluted. It's a conundrum that that the thing that we're afraid of is the love of God. that we're afraid of that which would save us from our ego selves. And trying to understand that helps us to work out of that. And that's what's happening here with the Course, is trying to give us the tools to understand and bring it up into the conscious mind. You know, let's go back to the first sentence of the first paragraph. You may wonder why it is so crucial that you look upon your hatred and realize its full extent. We have to bring that up out of the subconscious into the conscious mind and look at it full in the face so that we can understand the dynamics of what's happening so that we can turn it around. The second sentence says, you may also think that it would be easy enough for the Holy Spirit to show it to you and to dispel it without the need for you to rise it to awareness yourself. Yet there is one more obstacle you have interposed between yourself and the atonement. We have said that no one will countenance fear if he recognizes it, yet in your disordered state of mind, you are not afraid of fear. In your ego state of mind, you're not afraid of fear. You may be fearful, but you're not afraid of fear. You do not like it, but it is not your desire to attack that really frightens you. Lots of people are not frightened by their desire to attack. They willingly attack. You are not seriously disturbed by your hostility. Lots of people are hostile all the time. They're not seriously disturbed by it. You keep it hidden because you are more afraid of what it covers. But that fear is subconscious. You could even look upon the ego's darkest cornerstone without fear if you did not believe that without the ego, you would find within yourself something to fear even more. You are not really afraid of the crucifixion. Your real terror is of redemption, of realizing that you were wrong in your decision that you could separate yourself from God and thus be redeemed. And again, I'm saying this is a subconscious fear. But the book is trying to bring this up into consciousness, these ideas and realizations, so that we can deal with it, so that we can cleanse it, so that we can atone.
So there's always that possibility.
The possibility for redemption?
Well, there's always that possibility. There's always hope, I guess, is what I want to say.
Oh, yes, of course. Not only is there hope, and there's always possibility, but that's the promise. The promise is that we are already redeemed We just have to accept that. We have to realize it and accept that in our minds. Let's go back to paragraph 3 now. In honesty, is it not harder for you to say I love than I hate? You associate love with weakness and hatred with strength, and your own real power seems to you as your real weakness. For you could not control your joyous response to the call of love if you heard it, and the whole world you thought you made would vanish. The Holy Spirit then seems to be attacking your fortress, for you would shut out God, and he does not will to be excluded. I'm going to reread that. In honesty, is it not harder for you to say I love than I hate? Your ego self associates love with weakness and hatred with strength. And your own real power, your spiritual power, seems to you as to your ego self as your weakness. For you could not control your joyous response to the call of love if you heard it. If we really heard the Spirit's call of love, we would be so joyous that we'd be ecstatic. We couldn't control it. We'd be singing and dancing and laughing and crying. And if we did that, the whole world you thought you made, the ego world, would vanish. And so from the ego's point of view, the Holy Spirit seems to be attacking your fortress, the world that we made of the ego. But God will not be excluded. No matter how hard we try to push him out, he won't be gone. He'll always be there. Any comments, questions?
Good. Thank you.
You're welcome. Paragraph 4. You have built your whole insane belief system because you think you would be helpless in God's presence, and you would save yourself from his love because you think it would crush you into nothingness. You are afraid it would sweep you away from yourself and make you little, because you believe that magnitude lies in defiance and that attack is grandeur. You think you have made a world God would destroy, and by loving him, which you do, you would throw this world away, which you would. Therefore, you have used the world to cover your love. And the deeper you go into the blackness of ego's foundation, the closer you come to the love that is hidden there. And it is this that frightens you.
my device was having, it said my device was having a problem after it buzzed and went off. I had to go
Right.
through the process.
Yes, Ed, I realize you must be having technical difficulties. Anyway, we just finished reading paragraph 4.
All right.
Glad you could join us back again. So paragraph 5, you can accept insanity because you made it, but you cannot accept love because you did not. You would rather be a slave of the crucifixion than a son of God in redemption. Your individual death seems more valuable than your living oneness. For what is given you is not so dear as what you made. You are more afraid of God than of the ego. And love cannot enter where it is not welcome. But hatred can, for it enters of its own volition and cares not for yours. Six, you must look upon your illusions and not keep them hidden, because they do not rest on their own foundation. In concealment, they appear to do so, and thus they seem to be self-sustained. This is the fundamental illusion on which the others rest. For beneath them, and concealed as long as they are hidden, is the loving mind that thought it made them in anger. And the pain in this mind is so apparent when it is uncovered that its need of healing cannot be denied. Not all the tricks and games you offer can heal it, for here is the real crucifixion of God's Son. The real crucifixion of God's Son is our own fear and ego self that hides and buries the truth that we are indeed the immortal sons of God. That we were made of love and are love underneath all of the darkness that we have piled upon ourselves. We have to understand that and bring it into our consciousness to free ourselves of those thoughts. Freeing ourselves of those thoughts is freeing ourselves of the ego, because all of this happens in the mind. Any questions? Comments? Paragraph 7. And yet he is not crucified. Here is both his pain and his healing. For the Holy Spirit's vision is merciful and his remedy is quick. Do not hide suffering from his sight, but bring it gladly to him. Lay before his eternal sanity all your hurt and let him heal you. Do not leave any spot of pain hidden from his light, and search your mind carefully for any thoughts you may fear to uncover. For he will heal every little thought you have kept to hurt you and cleanse it of its littleness, restoring it to the magnitude of God. So to reread that paragraph, and yet you are not crucified. Here is both your pain and your healing. For the Holy Spirit's vision is merciful, and the Holy Spirit's remedy is quick. Do not hide your suffering from the Holy Spirit, but bring it gladly to him. Lay before his eternal sanity all your hurt, and let him heal you. And again, you do this in your mind. You say, here it is. I'm afraid of this. I'm afraid of that. I've got all of these fears. I've got these angers. I've got these thoughts of jealousy and hatred, and I'm just giving them all to you. You just do that in your mind. You realize, all of these ego feelings and thoughts within you, and just give it up. Let it go. Release it. The Holy Spirit will take all of it and heal you. Sentence 5, do not leave any spot of pain hidden from Holy Spirit's light. And search your mind carefully for any thoughts that you may fear to uncover. For Holy Spirit will heal every little thought you have kept to hurt yourself and cleanse it, restoring you to the magnitude of God as God created you. And so this is why we go into the silence. This is why we meditate. This is what we should be doing when we're sitting in meditation and in silence, is communing with the Holy Spirit within us and offering up all of these thoughts, all of these pains, all of these fears, all of these angers and negativity, and just releasing them. And allow Holy Spirit to take them and cleanse them from us. Any questions, comments? Helen?
I feel like I want to cry when I read this with you. I just feel like it's so emotional to
Yes.
think that I can conjure up all that's within me and bring it to God. Shame comes up.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very emotional paragraph for me.
Yes, it is. Paragraph 8. Beneath all the grandiosity you hold so dear is your real call for help. For you call for love to your Father, as your Father calls you to himself. And that place which you have hidden, you will only to unite with the Father in loving remembrance of him. You will find this place of truth as you see it in your brothers, For though they may deceive themselves, like you, they long for the grandeur that is in them. And perceiving it, you will welcome it, and it will be yours. For grandeur is the right of God's Son, and no illusions can satisfy him or save him from what he is. Only his love is real, and he will be content only with his reality. Again, only your love is real, and you will be content only with your reality that you are a spiritual being, that you are a child of God. And again, we have a reference here about finding this place of truth as you see it in your brothers. And we were talking about that last time when we said, yes, we can look at these politicians and other people in power and be angry at them, but that's just an ego reaction. If we're going to be true spiritual beings, then we look at all of our brothers, regardless of their actions in the ego world, and we think of them as being the children of God, as being spiritual beings, and we hold them in the light and think those thoughts of them and send them love, because you will find this place of truth as you see it in your brothers. For though they may deceive themselves, like you, they long for the grandeur that is in them.
So what comes to mind is, bless them, Father, for they know not what they do.
Yes, that's along the lines of this, yes. Number 9, save him from his illusions, that you may accept the magnitude of your Father in peace and joy. But exempt no one from your love, or you will be hiding a dark place in your mind where the Holy Spirit is not welcome. And thus you will exempt yourself from his healing power. For by not offering total love, you will not be healed completely. Healing must be as complete as fear, for love cannot enter where there is one spot of fear to mar its welcome. So that's the challenge that we have to face, to live up to in this ego body that we're living in. Save your brothers from his illusions, that you may accept the magnitude of your Father in peace and joy. Exempt no one from your love. Because if you do, you will be exempting yourself, because there's only one of us. Whatever you do unto your brother, you do unto yourself. If you love the brother, you love yourself. If you think ill of your brother, you're thinking ill of yourself. If you're angry with your brother, you're angry with yourself. If you're condemning or criticizing your brother, you're condemning and criticizing yourself. There's no difference between you and everyone else. We're all the Son of God. There's only one of us. 10. You who prefer separation to sanity cannot obtain it in your right mind. You were at peace until you asked for special favor. And God did not give it, for the request was alien to him. And you could not ask this of a father who truly loved his son. Therefore, you made of him an unloving father, demanding of him what only such a father could give. And the peace of God's Son was shattered, for he no longer understood his father. He feared what he had made, but still more did he fear his real father, having attacked his own glorious equality with him. So that's a description of the separation, of the moment of separation, when we thought that we could separate ourselves from our Father. And it all went to pieces. So that's a good description of it. 11, in peace, he needed nothing and asked for nothing. In war, he demanded everything and found nothing. For how could the gentleness of love respond to his demands, except by departing in peace and returning to the Father? If the Son did not wish to remain in peace, he could not remain at all. For a darkened mind cannot live in the light, and it must seek a place of darkness where it can believe it is where it is not. God did not allow this to happen, yet you demanded that it happened, and therefore believed that it was so. And so this paragraph describes us living in the ego world. And in peace, he, that's a small h, that's us. In peace, we needed nothing and asked for nothing. When we were in the spirit world, before the separation, we needed nothing and asked for nothing. But in war, in the ego, in the thought of separation, we demanded everything but found nothing. The ego world is just an illusion. It's nothingness. So paragraph 10 describes the separation. Paragraph 11 describes living in the ego. So let's see what our last paragraph 12 has to say. To single out is to make alone, and thus make lonely. God did not do this to you. Could he set you apart, knowing that your peace lies in his oneness? Could he set you apart, knowing that your peace lies in his oneness? He denied you only your request for pain, for suffering is not of his creation. having given you creation, he could not take it from you. He could not answer your insane request with a sane answer that would abide with you in your insanity. I'm sorry, I'll read that again. He could not but answer. He could not but answer your insane request with a sane answer that would abide with you in your insanity, and this he did. No one who hears his answer will give up insanity. I'm sorry, I keep missing these buts. No one who hears his answer but will give up insanity. For his answer is the reference point beyond illusions from which you can look back on them and see them as insane. But seek this place and you will find it. For love is in you and will lead you there. So when we ask God to be separate from him, he couldn't do this. Sentence two says, God did not do this to you. No, he couldn't. He could not set you apart because he knew that your peace lies in his oneness. And he denied your request for pain and suffering. And that's why he gave us the Holy Spirit at that point of separation or seeming separation. When we thought we separated ourselves from God, God infused the Holy Spirit within our minds to link us to him so that eventually we could find our way back home. It's like tying a thread or is putting a leash on the child. Okay, he's running out around in the yard, but he's not going to get lost completely because we've tied a leash to him. And so we can always pull him back in with the leash, or he can pull himself back in by following the thread, by following the leash. And that's what the Holy Spirit is, that leash that we have that ties us to God. And that was God's answer to our thought of separation and descent into the ego illusion. And then again, the promise comes at the end, but seek this place and you will find it. For love is in you and will lead you there. The Holy Spirit is within you and will lead you back to your spiritual self, to God, to the oneness. Questions, comments?
I don't know if this is just something that occurred to me. So when you read, he denied you only your request for pain, for suffering is not in his creation. So if one is experiencing pain of any sort, that's due to their own will, if you will, because God did not, he denied you only your request for pain.
Yeah, I understand, what you're getting at, but you're defining pain as physical pain. And basically what he's saying here is he denied you only your request for separation.
Okay. Thank you.
because it's the separation that caused the pain and the suffering. And we experience the pain and the suffering in the ego because we thought we're under the illusion that we did separate ourselves from God. And God's denied, he says, no, no, no. I cannot allow you to be separated from me. If I did, you really would be in pain and suffering for eternity. But God denied you your request for separation.
Thank
Because
you.
he just couldn't do
Clears it
that.
up.
God said, how can I allow you to be separated from me? There's only one of us. We're all in the oneness. There is no separation in the oneness. We only experience ourselves as separate individual beings in the ego world. In the spirit world, there's only one of us. Ed?
Well, today I was in Belgrade and participated in the Martin Luther King parade, and in support of a candidate who wants to make positive changes in that town, being the poorest town in Florida. And we have Big Sugar out there who is burning sugar cane and making the people sick in Belglade, Pahokee, and South Bay, and they continue to do so, and they don't care. The Van Hools that own the Florida Crystal Sugarcane Company take home between 120 and 150 million dollars a year, and they could go to mechanical harvesting rather than burning the sugarcane, but they may lose a few $1,000,000 here and there until they have accomplished the proper way to do this, which is they're doing in Brazil right now, who has, I don't know, maybe 7 or 8 times the amount of sugar cane, more than the 600,000 acres that we have. And they're doing it by mechanical harvesting, which is not hurting their people. And we have, we have not just them, but we've got US Sugar, and that's a board. Both companies have a board, but the board is more significant with US Sugar. They have one guy who's like a president, but it's not, he's not a family owner. This goes on and on. But anyway, the thing of it is I build up anger and frustration with this when I see it. I see these poor people in Belglade along the side of the street when we were in this parade today. And it just, this continues on and on and on. The sugarcane people have spent $20 million last year in lobbying, lobbying campaign contributions to all sorts of people in power. And so this goes on and on. It's very frustrating. I'm trying to apply this to that, and I would hope it would work, but I emailed them once, and asked them to bring this sugar cane to mechanical harvest over a period of 4 years, 25% a year, starting from up in the Muck City areas and coming down.
So, but
it doesn't work.
You're having a problem applying the course to this situation in your life. And I understand that. And I understand that it's very frustrating to you. And in dealing spiritually with these situations, unfortunately, you're not going to see immediate miracles happening. But the thing to understand is that you need to do what you need to do to become the best spiritual being that you can be while you're in the ego world. So, regardless of what they're thinking and doing, the important thing for you is what you're thinking and doing. And if you can hold them in the light, if you can send them love, regardless of your anger and fear, if you can release your anger and fear to the Holy Spirit, if you can do things like lobbying, sending emails, letters, even protesting, whatever, I mean, fine. If you can physically do things that might help the situation, that's great. But the bottom line is what's going on in your mind. Because if you're sending them hatred, anger, calling them names in your mind, you're just doing that to yourself, and you're not progressing your spiritual growth.
I understand. Yeah, I'm from reading this today, I'm understanding that it's brought my focus to that place. But I was, still feeling, I'm still going to feel this frustration, and I guess it's as you're saying, you do what you can do, and but stay in the light.
Right, right.
I wonder, I wonder if and sometime the next time you do a meditation, sit quietly and take all the people that you're speaking of, the board of directors, the president, these people that you're writing letters to, take the whole group and with love in you, send to them. Just think of them in love. And I'd be curious to see what rises inside of you about that. And I just wonder. I wonder if that would be realistic. And I'm not saying that it's going to be the answer whatsoever, but sometimes, it just, I would be curious to see if that would be helpful.
Well, I think it would be helpful for my peace of mind, my contentment. It isn't good for you physically to be
Right.
angry and frustrated and upset. And
Right.
so that doesn't help. That doesn't help anything to be that.
Right. And the other thing you could do if you're sitting in meditation, if you can visualize, some people can and some people have a harder time with it, but you could sit and visualize that the sugar cane is being done with the mechanical cutting in Belglade. You can project that image in your mind
While you're at it. Yeah.
while you're visualizing that. And and if there are like-minded people that you're associated with in the Sierra Club or whatever, you could get together a mastermind group with them where you sit once a day, or you have an agreement that at a certain hour every day, you'll sit for 5 minutes and visualize the sugar being harvested mechanically instead of being burned. You'd be surprised what that can do.
Okay.
And then get back to us and let us know.
Well, again, and it may take time, but eventually that will become the reality. If enough people visualize it enough of the time, it will manifest itself, because that's the law of the universe.
Hmm.
The law of the universe says that we create our own reality. And the way we do that is by thinking the thought of it. Thoughts are things. Thoughts go out into the universe and manifest themselves in the physical reality. That's the way it always happens. There isn't anything that you see that didn't originate as somebody's thought. Your computer, your car, your home, your clothes, your toothbrush, whatever it is that you look upon did not exist until somebody thought of it. And then many people thought of it, like our computers. The thought expanded and people thought about it. And the more they thought about it, they tried to make it. And they drew blueprints, and they did designs on paper. And eventually, and they found the materials, and they worked the mechanics. And eventually it came into fruition. But it started with a thought. Everything starts with a thought. That's
Now
the way
they can
we
use
create.
they can use the sugar people can use this biomass that they create when they mechanically harvest. Part of it goes to regenerating the soil. Part of it can go to firing their boilers. Part of it goes to making methane. Part of it goes to making paper
Right.
dishes and things that,
So,
there are a number of things that can be done with this that will will replace the
think
money
about
that
it.
they lost, and eventually
Think about it and encourage other people to think about it. But I don't want to get too far off of the course here. So we did read this entire section, and next week or next time will be on section 4, the function of time. So we look forward to your participation again next time. Let's end now with a period of silence, and then we will stop the recording.